guitar players, and thank you so much for joining me for this 5th blues lick lesson video here on the Guitar Inspiration channel. My name is Maarten, and in this video I'll show you how to play that cool jump blues lick that you heard in the beginning of this video. I'll talk about the rhythm, the picking pattern, the harmony. There are some interesting things going on here, some fun things to learn. So I'm very excited to share this with you in this lesson. So grab your guitar and let's dive in. So this jump blues lick is a great lick in the key of C. It's an excellent lick to break out of that minor pentatonic box that we all love. It combines elements from the C minor and the C major pentatonic scale. And a recurring theme in this lick is the use of the E natural, that is, so the major third or the third degree from the major pentatonic. Also a chord tone of the C7, that's the underlying chord. The lick starts with a slide from the 8th fret to the 9th fret on the G string. Slide with your middle finger. So pick the 8th fret, that's just a quick grace note with a downstroke, and then slide very quickly to the 9th fret. And here we have that E already, that E natural. So we're already moving out of the minor pentatonic box. Next, play the 8th fret on the B string with an upstroke, and a 10th fret on that same string with a downstroke. Play these notes with your ring finger and index finger. 8th fret first, upstroke, 10th fret, downstroke, and then do a pull off back to the 8th fret. So just lift your ring finger again and play that 8th fret on the B string. So that first pattern is, and notice I'm not playing, but I'm playing. So I'm making it swing a little bit. So pay special attention to the pulse of the 8th notes in this lick. There is a metric modulation symbol on the chart that indicates that the first 8th note of every pair, so the one that falls on the beat, is played a little bit longer than the one that is played between the beats. And this is a very familiar feel, a familiar sound in blues and jazz and even rock. So put some feeling into that. And next is a slide from the 10th to the 12th fret on the E string. I slide with my ring finger, but you could slide with your pinky if you like. I prefer my ring finger because it gives me a little bit more control. I want this slide to sound happy, lightly uplifting. So pick the 10th fret. But again, this is a grace note, and slide very quickly to the 12th fret. So pick before the slide and don't pick the 12th fret. This 12th fret is, you guessed it, another E, an E natural, this time an octave higher than the previous one. And in a jump blues, I'm almost not playing that note. I'm just sliding to it and I'm making it very short. After that E on the 12th fret of the E string, go back to the 8th fret on that same E string with your index finger and play that note, that's a C, with an upstroke. And this note indicates the start of a reverse arpeggiated F major triad. So we're outlining the 4 chord here and we're starting it with an upstroke on that 8th fret of the E string. Now what's special about this lick is that that first upstroke is extended to the 10th fret of the B string. So I'm using the same upstroke to play both notes on these 2 strings. So a little reverse sweep here, a little upstroke sweep, and that's a type of economy picking, where you hit 2 strings with 1 upward picking motion across the strings. A few tips for this technique is to keep the fingers of your fretting hand moving to separate the individual notes. Otherwise, they will ring out together. So as soon as I'm hitting that 10th fret here on the B string, I'm already lifting my finger off the E string, so I don't want to let that note ring through. Also slant the pick a little bit up, rotate your wrist a little bit towards your own body, so you have less resistance when you brush the strings. And make sure you're not too tense in your picking hand. It's a controlled, soft brushing motion. Don't worry if you don't get it right the first few times. This usually takes some time to learn. And by the way, most of the time I will do these types of sweeps over 3 strings, but I changed the picking pattern a little bit here. As you can see, the 3rd note in that F major triad is the F on the 10th fret of the G string. Normally I would sweep over these 3 strings, but I did add a downstroke here, and this is to avoid some picking trouble in the final bar. I'll show you an example of a sweep over 3 strings later in the video. So I end this bar with a downstroke on that 10th fret of the G string. Now the final bar starts with a move from the 8th fret to the 9th fret on the G string, just like we started with in the beginning of the lick, but there are a few small but significant changes though. First of all, it's not a slide this time, it's a hammer-on. It's played with an upstroke, not a downstroke. And that first 8th fret here, that minor 3rd, is not a grace note this time, so play it as a full 8th note. So the first time it was a very quick transition. Now we're playing it as a full 8th note with an upstroke and with a hammer-on. The reason I'm intentionally playing an upstroke here is because this makes my picking hand move upward, and this is useful because the next note, the 3rd 8th note in that final bar, is the 10th fret on the A string. So we're doing a string skip. And this is a lot easier if your picking hand is already moving in that direction. So we're landing on that 10th fret on the A string. I play this with my ring finger and with a downstroke. So now the motion of the picking hand is reversed again. The final note here on in this lick is the 10th fret on the D string. That's the C, or the root from the scale. And I like to play it with an upstroke again to really emphasize that staccato. So you see above the note is a little dot, and that indicates that the note is played very shortly. So staccato. So I bar these 2 notes on the 10th fret with my ring finger, but do not keep your ring finger in place or the notes will ring together. So I'm lifting it up a little bit between those 2 notes to mute the first string and keep it from ringing through that last staccatoed root note. Okay, as promised, let me show you a few small variations on this lick for a slower blues. Let's see how that sounds. In this first variation for a slower blues, I replaced the slide to the 12th fret with a half step bend. Other than that, the first bar stays the same. In the final bar, however, we're making some more adjustments. First of all, that 8th fret on the G string is a grace note again that transitions rapidly into a hammered on 9th fret. And secondly, we're using that upward motion of the picking hand to perform another reverse sweep, first to the 10th fret on the D string, and then continue the sweeping motion to the 10th fret on the A string, the middle finger, and that way we're playing a triplet with only 1 upstroke across 3 strings. Followed by the 8th and 7th fret on the A string. This last note is my target, and again this is an E natural, and this time an octave lower than the one we started with. So you see how something as simple as one note can become a theme in a lick. Okay, before we finish up this lesson, there is one more creative variation on this slow blues lick that I want to share with you. And this variation is the result of holding on to that first E in the final bar a little bit longer, so you have less time to perform that reverse sweep, and it becomes more difficult. But the great thing is that even if you don't play all the notes clearly, the percussive effect of the picking pattern hitting the strings can create a cool effect. And technically this makes it not a sweep but a rake, and that's a very common percussive technique in blues guitar. With a rake, the strings are intentionally muted. You can even use the same finger movements with your fretting hand, just don't fret the notes but mute them. So experiment with both, the upward sweep or the upward rake, and see what you like. Alright, so that concludes Blues Lick lesson number 5, and I hope you got some inspiration for your own blues playing. You can practice this lick with the backing track that you can find on my channel, or you can see it in context in a longer jump blues solo video that I did, and I'll put some links to those videos in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll post more of these lick lessons in the future, so subscribe to stay updated. Give me a like, leave me a comment, or check the description for other ways to support my channel. I hope to see you again next time. Bye bye.